Wow, okay. Welcome to Nostr Devs, number 8. Woo! Let's go! Okay, so I am here. My name is Austin, or I go by Bitcoin Pleb Dev online, and I've got Captain Stacks here on the side. I'm stepping in to replace the legendary Super Testnet today. Sadly, he's not here. He is in some undisclosed location, but he is missed, and he'll be back at some point. But I'm going to step in, and I gathered a few of the top stories that caught my eye over the last month, I suppose. And Captain Stacks has a few stories as well, and we're going to walk through them and answer any questions, maybe have some side discussions, and it should be pretty straightforward. And I'm going to try to remember to add all the links to this list, and then I'm going to post this list on Nostr at the end, and hopefully do it through a method that you didn't know you could do it through. More on that later. Okay, let's get started with the first story. Mutiny adds gifting using Nostr Wallet Connect. So Mutiny gifts, at face value, this might not seem to be anything that has anything to do with Nostr, but it actually does. So Mutiny has a cool feature. I believe this is only available for their Plus users. I'm not sure, but basically allows you to show someone a QR code with a gift of sats embedded in it. And this person, they don't need to have Mutiny Wallet already set up, because Mutiny Wallet runs on the web. So they can scan this QR code, and it'll open up the wallet, and they can claim their gift, right, from one scan, one pull. It's a really cool user experience. And it is also self-custodial, right? So there's no middleman in the process. And yeah, it's just a simple QR code. I think they have a screenshot of it. So, so basically, if they don't redeem it, you get to take it back, looks like. And the sats never leave your control. So quick redemption process. So how it works, we've been building out the infrastructure of our Nostr Wallet Connect service for many months. We've added budgeting, auto approvals, multiple profiles, subscriptions, etc. And now this latest feature demonstrates how one mobile user can request sats from another mobile user while staying non-custodial. And this communication is happening over Nostr. That's what the Nostr Wallet Connect aspect of this is. So you'd scan a QR code like this, lightning gift, 50,000 sats. Oh, this is actually cool. They posted this. This was a real gift that they posted here for, I guess, the first person that scanned this. They got 50,000 sats. So that's pretty cool. So this QR code shows the information the recipient needs to send a Nostr message with an encoded invoice. The sender listens for this message from a relay and pays the invoice. In the case of gifting, we added a one-time use to our array of Nostr Wallet Connect features. Nice. So we've got one-time use, budgeting, auto approvals, multiple profiles, subscriptions. There's also expiration dates. So there's all of these more increasing aspects that you can customize Nostr Wallet Connect, which is essentially, it's like this scoped connection to your Lightning wallet over Nostr. And so it's really important. I mean, I think I have NIP47. Yeah, NIP47 right here. If you don't know what Nostr Wallet Connect is, I mean, yeah, I just described it. It's basically making a connection to your node over the Nostr network, using Nostr as a communication layer. And it's really cool. But when you do this, you have a payment secret. So you basically generate a connection URI that contains a secret, and that secret is used to encrypt and verify from your node, which your node will be listening for this Nostr event and looking for it. So like it says here, like when the user initiates a payment, their Nostr client creates a pay invoice request, encrypts it using the token from the URI, and sends it as a kind 23194 to the relays specified in the connection URI. Then the wallet service is listening on those relays, waiting for a message like that. It'll decrypt the request. It should be the only one able to decrypt it. And then the wallet will be able to send the payment, right? So you're just talking to your node through Nostr, and you're trying to be secure about it. So really cool spec. It's really powerful, but definitely be careful with your NWCs. Yes?
I have a question. So does the sender need their Mutiny wallet to be online when the receiver is playing the payment?
Does the sender need for their wallet to be online? I would guess so, because the invoice is unpaid until the receiver claims it. So I believe you would need to be online. Well,
Need to be online at the same time.
maybe not. Redeem the gift. One key reasons. I'm not sure. It doesn't say. I'll have to ask. I'm trying to think though, since
Because I'm thinking if it's custodial during that flight, that it wouldn't be necessary, but I doubt if they would have gone to custodial.
yeah, they say it's self-custodial. So it seems to just be kind of a very, very much scoped Nostr Wallet Connect, where the receiver needs to claim it, and if they don't, the receiver can basically sweep it back. Good question though. All right, let's go. Cool. So let's move on. We've got a improvement, a beta 2.0, I think, from Lister. So if you don't know about Lister, it is essentially a way of creating lists on Nostr. And so that's not the fanciest idea, but Lister has been increasing its features, and basically you can share these lists more easily now. You can pull in these lists. So like we see someone here, they have a spam list. Like that might be nice. You might want to have a list of accounts you want to avoid. There's a bookmark list, a tech list, right? So there might be niche topics that you want to follow, and you can create listers for that. And now it's easier to like pull in other people's listers, as far as I understand. That's the big improvement in this beta, to pull in other people's listers and use them just natively, like in a client, without having to copy them. Because you were able to copy them before, but you had to copy them and make them your own lister. But now you can just use other people's listers if they're public. Of course, you can have private listers, I'm sure.
Can we see that, or what does it mean to use someone else's list?
It means that basically you can search for it. Like I can grab this person's spam list, and instead of needing to like completely copy it over, which I believe they made that easy before, like you can just use it.
So you can get like all the people that like all these people that are just like spamming your thing and block them at once. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, that could be an example you could do on a list, or subscribe to a group of people at once. So I still don't have a ton of experience on this, so not the best person to be talking about it, but I've been thinking about it more if like from a project I've been working on, and just the need for lists and the importance of lists. And I would love to see, maybe this is a dumb idea, I would love to see lists for actual notes rather than just profiles, right? Because this could be a way that we could start kind of tagging and indexing notes. And especially I think this would be good for long form notes. Long form notes, I guess, do this in some kind of way, like the long form articles. But yeah, the lister idea could go really deep, and you're kind of having the public, there's a question on if you can trust them or not, but you're having the public do all this curation for you. People are just doing it on their own behalf. And so that's pretty cool. So great update from Lister. It also looks nice on here. And let's move on. Oddbean, a new Nostr client, was released this month. And it is just a really cool old school Hacker News clone, essentially. So a lot of people were using it this week and enjoying it. I didn't really check it out. I'm a Stacker News guy myself, but I figured I would put it on the list because they have a lot of usage here. And they have some kind of point system. I'm not sure how it works. That's just a cup of coffee.
It's funny how like everybody's like really trying to.
Nostr will win because you can shit post without limits.
It's funny how everybody really wants like to replace Stacker News. It's hilarious.
Someone unnamed in the crowd said it's funny how everyone wants to replace Stacker News. But hey, Stacker News isn't on Nostr, are they? Surely not.
He's making a Nostr thing at some point.
More on that later.
But it's just funny how like.
Yeah. Oh, I forgot. I wanted to jump back and say one last thing. We were talking about Nostr Wallet Connect before and a lot of cool features, but I wanted to throw out this disclaimer to try and be generic as possible. there are certain clients that you might enable Nostr Wallet Connect with, and you want to make sure that you scope them, set a budget or set a expiration, which Alby makes this really easy. I know Mutiny Wallet makes this really easy, because some of these clients, they're storing these Nostr Wallet Connect URIs unencrypted, and an attacker could get them. And if they get them, that means they can call methods on your node, and essentially, if you don't have a budget set, I mean, steal all of your sats, which if you have 10,000 sats in an Alby wallet, might not be a big deal. But yeah, disclaimer, Nostr Wallet Connect isn't just super private by default. It is a piece of information, and you need to trust where you're putting that information, because it is an admin rights to your node. Okay, cool. Anyway, so Zap Threads is our next store here. This is a threaded comments component built on Nostr. Kind of interesting. This is a little bit along the lines of Stacker News too, because it is essentially a front-end component that uses the best practice for creating threaded comments for Nostr, right? So it's kind of pre-built for you. So announcing Zap Threads, a threaded comments component built on Nostr. It's the comments component in Obla, so you probably already used it. If you don't know about Obla, that's the biggest long-form content Nostr client, I believe. Zap Threads is available as a web component and can be embedded pretty much anywhere. It works on any client framework via NPM or a website via script tag. Nice. So basically, it's like a pre-built component that you can either like add it in your code as a library and kind of customize it and implement it yourself, or you can actually just embed it into a website as a micro app. So that's really cool.
I can drop them like in a Ghost link or no?
I believe so, yeah. If Ghost allows you to embed scripts, then you should be able to drop this inside of it.
And then allow people to comment,
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how complicated that integration might be, but yeah, I mean, if you're able to pull in those Nostr events, I imagine it probably includes a way to put in your subscription for what kind of events you want to listen for. So it works on a variety of root events, markdown support, which is kind of hard to implement front end, lightweight on clients, relays, extremely versatile and customizable. Cool.
When will Amazon support this?
Amazon? When will Amazon support this? What do you mean by that?
When will they add this to their site?
Oh, threaded comments in general, like for reviews?
Yeah.
That's a good question. Yeah, I mean, threaded comments are nice. I mean, like odd being, I guess this is the most like primitive version, which old school forum, monsters would be very comfortable with this. But like the modern threading, like on Stacker News, I guess, for example, is really nice. And on most of the Nostr clients, it's nice. But it's good to have a standard that you can kind of lean on if you don't want to implement it from scratch. And something else I was going to mention is it's cool to see there's more and more of these micro apps being built on Nostr. It's really interesting trend. It's just showing that like people are realizing that everyone's rebuilding stuff again and again. Like a good example is our friend Sam Samskis has the Zap button, which is like a simple embeddable micro app that's just a button that lets you zap people with it using a NIP 07 extension like Alby. And so, that's a cool example of like a Nostr micro app. If I'm building a Nostr client, I know I want zaps. I mean, do I want to write it from scratch, figure it out from scratch? Maybe not. And this is another example of that. And we're actually going to look at another micro app later, which is pretty cool. Okay, next up. This week I saw on my No BS Bitcoin feed something called Memester, a Nostr hub for memes. So, okay, here it is. And it's just a feed of memes. And you can like them and zap them. So, I mean, that's pretty cool. I like its simplicity. I wonder how they're going to do content moderation and stuff like that. But either way, it's been kind of popular this week. A lot of people have been posting on it. But it was funny. I wanted to get this off my chest. I mean, I saw this pop up on my No BS Bitcoin feed. And I was kind of thinking to myself, why is this on my No BS Bitcoin feed? I would like there to be a No BS Nostr feed, actually. No BS implies that, we're Bitcoin focused, it's high signal stories. And I like the feed because it captures a lot of the stories I care about. But I feel like random Nostr stuff like this is maybe watering it down a little bit. And it would be cool if there was a Nostr exclusive feed, because then also it'd be easier for me to keep up with everything on Nostr with a pretty quick scroll rather than just parsing it out from this big feed that has already Bitcoin and Lightning stuff in it. So anyway, wanted to get that off my chest, but you know.
Nobody's Bitcoin is AI generated, right? Like,
I don't think so.
oh, okay. It's actually,
If they are, good for them. They're pretty clever. But I mean, yeah, it's usually like no BS Bitcoin. There's no additional content usually that's added by them. They're just kind of reiterating it and summarizing and everything like that. Okay, I need to add this stuff to my list real quick. Are there any other questions?
Yeah, does Memester scrape data? Like, does it find memes, or people have to post specifically to Memester?
I believe they add a tag, like a Memester tag maybe. What is this? Bean. Hacker News.
Nostrils meme.
Let's go. Okay, next up we have our very own super testnet here. Last month, about 3 weeks ago, was that really 3 weeks ago? Or last month, I guess, when...
yeah, I think you went over this last week.
Really? Oh, I missed it. Okay, well, all right. I guess it was a cool project. We sure loved it. And funny enough, even though this does use Nostr, just a quick summary, this is a way to swap UTXOs with a miner, trustlessly with coin swaps, and it uses Nostr for the offers, but if I search Nostr here, it's actually not in the repo at all, so that was very based. They probably abandoned it, but that's not that's not a surprise from our friend Super Testnet. I'm gonna add this to the list either way. UTXO. Okay, next up was a story that I was mentioned in, because I helped, over the last 2 weeks, I helped ruin everyone's Nostr feeds, or a lot of people's at least, so sorry about that. But I've been working on a small team on kind of a prototype for doing prisms over Nostr. And so lightning prisms over Nostr. So prisms are just a fancy way of saying paying one payment that splits out to multiple recipients. And so there were some people that were thinking about how to do this in a number of different ways, and I joined them recently to build out a method on Nostr. And we made our initial announcement last week for our first prism tag, is what we're calling it, which is Boost. Has anyone seen Boost on your feeds over the last few weeks, maybe?
Walk us through how it works, 'cause
I will.
to this day I still don't know how it works. I just keep seeing these dollar tags.
Yeah, it's a little bit confusing. I tried to summarize it here in this note that I posted that they have here. So here is a note with a prism tag. The prism tag is $boost. Now what will happen is after either 10 reposts of this note or 12 hours, our bot will create a new note quoting this one and featuring a zap split of all of the reposters. When you zap that note, the sats will be split across all of the 10 reposters. So I'm basically creating an advertisement on my note here to say, this has Boost, so I want you to repost this, and if you repost this, you will be included in a note that will allow you to receive a split of the zaps. So right now, we have to create a new note to do this. And so I can walk you through a little bit of how this looks. So this was Bob's original announcement. And we have makeprisms.com as well that you can check out. What was I going to show you? Okay, so here's an example. Here's a good example we can walk through. So this guy, Nunya Bidness, He has a podcast, episode 807. Wow, that is a lot.
Dude's consistent.
That is crazy. And so I'm sure he's posting podcasts all the time, but now he's posting his podcast and he's adding the boost tag. So what happened was when he added the boost tag, our bot responded and basically said, hey, you added a boost tag and I saw that. So now, as people start reposting this, or in 12 hours, I'm going to create the prism for you. And so this is after the 12 hours where the prism was created. So the prism was created. Here's the original note. He added boost. And now here's the quote note of the prism.
Where does the stats come from, though, Austin? Like,
Just whoever zaps the note. And so I'll zap this in a second, and I'll show you what it is like.
so Nunya doesn't have to load any stats, or he's just sharing the stats that this post makes? Is that what you're saying?
He's basically allowing us to create a zap split of the people that engage with his note in a certain way. So this is the first. Right now, boost is for reposts, but we also announced another method for comment. So that would mean if I put $comment, the first 10 commenters after 12 hours will be included in this prism note, which will allow them to receive a split of the zaps. It's essentially what it means. So it is a little bit, it's hard to get your head around it. And we're very early. We want to make it a lot of this abstracted in the background. But we realized we could just get this to work today. So that's kind of the state that we're in. So we see this, this received 5 reposts, so there should be a split of 5 people. It says here your note was zapped 4 sats, but we can see later on, 1:50 a.m., 1:55 a.m., 5 minutes later, we can see that the poster of this, he zapped the prism, and all of the other recipients received 1,000 sats.
Oh, nice.
So we see that our prism post spot will update when zaps come through, which is pretty cool. So I'm going to zap this right now. I'm going to copy the note ID, and I'm going to go to another really cool micro app that's called Zapper. Here's Zapper. Let me go to the homepage. So it's zapper.nostrapps.org. So this is another micro app. Say what? The screen froze? Oh.
Slide on the screen. It's not from operating on the TV. We can move on. Okay.
Oh, is it because it's like... Okay, well, either way. So Zapper is a way I can put in this event ID. You see it now? Okay, we're lagging a little bit, but it's back up. We're still rolling. All right. So I go to the zapper.nostrapps.org. So this is a micro app. It's something that you can implement just like Zap Threads before in just a script tag and embed it in your website, and it allows you to zap people. And so I put in this event. You see it loads in, and this is the Prism event. And I can see all of the recipients of this event, all of the reposters, and I can see the percentage of the split that they will receive. So that's pretty cool. Zapper is what we're telling people to use for right now. It's like the first class experience for zapping multiple people at once. Because that's something that a lot of the clients, they're starting to support it now, but it is a dodgy experience at best. So let me see how many sats I have here on my Albi. Only 40. Okay, well, I'll zap 20 to this prism. And so now I put in 20 in the amount, and we can see that there's a split 4 sats across all the 5 participants. So I'll do this here, and now you'll get to see actually how slow it is with our current tools to zap multiple people.
Dude, so much friction.
There's so much friction. And so this is something else that we are working on that I cannot talk about, but we are going to drop this time down drastically. And it is possible to make zaps much, much faster.
I'd like to point out something for people who want to try zapping a Prism post. This flow right here really sucks. It's good that they're going to make it better, but there is an easier way that you can already do today. If you have Amethyst, and this might work in some other clients, but in Amethyst, if you zap a Prism note, in other words, a note that has multiple recipients for the zap, if you have Nostr Wallet Connect set up on Amethyst, you don't have to do this multiple approval process. In the background, it will shoot off those payment requests to your wallet. So if you're using a wallet like Mutiny Wallet, it has an approve all button. So it ends up being a really streamlined process.
Hey, Austin, what was
Yeah.
the idea behind using the dollar sign for, like, who came up with that idea?
So the idea is to create a distinct tag that we can read and sniff out. And yeah, I mean, essentially like what's happening in the background is we have a server that's reading all of the notes on Nostr, and we're looking for these tags. And we, on our server side, we're going to create functionality that allows you to customize the criteria for which people can be included in a split based off of your note. And we're making the commands for what you want that criteria to be, the zap tags, which are the $ something, right? So right now we only have $ boost for reposts, $ comment for comments. But there will be more logic later. And in fact, already, we talked about lister before. You can use a lister on your boost. So here's an example. Type a lister after the prism to limit the prism members to that list. So in this example, we have boost #followers. This would make it to where only your followers or the people your followers can be included in the prism.
Is there like a nip around this or anything like that, or is it's just entirely together by just a group of individuals?
Yeah, there's no real nip around it yet. It's possible some of what we're doing could be turned into a nip, but it's more of like out of band. Like we're kind of abstracting logic outside of the protocol of Nostr to kind of
Do you suspect
make this
that
happen.
There'll be multiple implementations of this, because like somebody could theoretically use, I don't know, a different type of Unicode sign and call it Prism, right? Theoretically, and do exactly what you guys are doing.
Yes, so the question was, do I think that other people are going to be kind of duplicating this in their own way? And it's not just us. And yes, I do agree that that will happen. And really, anyone else can do this today. We've built out a lot of logic it actually is a little more difficult than it seemed on the surface. We've had to build out a lot of logic and kind of have a roadmap of stuff we want to build. But yes, anyone can do this. And the difficulty that we're working around is the fact that we don't know who's going to repost your note when you post your note. That's why we have to watch it and then wait for some period of time and some criteria to be met before we create the prism for you after the fact. But if you know who you want in your prism up front, you don't need us. You can do it yourself if, I guess, you know how to write JSON. And that is right here in the Zap spec. So I'm on NIP57, which is the Lightning Zap spec, a very popular spec that a lot of people look at, but not a lot of people go all the way to the bottom, where there's a description here of Zap tags, multiple Zap tags on one event. And so this is basically what a split is. So you have a Zap tag, and this is the user's pub key, their relay where you find them. And then this number right here is a weight. It's basically a relative weight for determining how much sats the person receives. So, this is a 3-person prism essentially, and you could just make this, but you can only make it up front. If you want to make it after the fact, you got to deal with a whole world of problems that we're trying to deal with. But yeah, this is a very cool part of the spec that I didn't know about before. So for the example of like maybe, people collaborating on a project together, you already know who's the contributors up front. Maybe when you create the announcement for your project, you already have that split built in this kind of way where, this guy gets a 2, he did the most work, and then it's an even split between the other 2 participants or something like that. So cool part of the spec, and yeah, that's a prism right there. It's just a JSON object. Okay, cool. And I have one last, at least prepared story. Where is it? Right here. Okay, so this is something else I worked on this month. This is cool, that has to do with Nostr. Stacker News releases Nostr cross-posting. And And so I worked on this over the last month, and it was a lot of fun. It was basically the idea of like, how do you build cross-posting into Stacker News to where your content isn't just living in Stacker News' database, but you can make it redundant by spreading it around on Nostr relays and also allowing for it to be zapped on a completely other network. And so this is really cool. Stacker News is already pseudo becoming a Nostr client, but now, you can essentially say that it is a Nostr client. It's just one that only posts out. It doesn't necessarily read in yet. But so this only works for discussion posts, the main just typical post type right now. Uses NIPO 7 extension. You can set it to repost on a per post basis. There's an option, or you can default it for all of your posts. And so Keon, who built Stacker News, as soon as he posted this note, he also cross-posted it, and he put the link right here. Let's see if this breaks. Boom. So in one, he wrote the note one time, and now it's showing up here. This is obla.news. And it's the same exact post, is all marked down, so it's all formatted. And he's actually been zapped on here. So he received sats from the Nostr network that he wouldn't have received just from Stacker News. So that's already a really cool first sign for Nostr cross-posting. I also saw Carr has the newest test flight version of Damus. I don't have it. And Damus now shows long-form content in your feed. And I saw it looked really good in the feed. Like, it was formatted very well. And me personally, I would like to see more long-form content just mixed in my Nostr feed. I think that'd be cool, especially from Stacker News, because I jump over from Stacker News to Nostr and back and forth. So curious to see how people use this, and definitely there's going to be more I'm building out and improving on.
Hey, Austin, so,
Yeah.
so which, can you show us how it worked? Can you walk through it or no? Like this, I know there's like a checkbox or something. So if I uncheck it, is it just for any time I comment on Stacker News, or like is it?
Yeah, let me go to my main
Or like
account.
Because I know you can delete on Stacker News like a comment, but I'm sure you can't delete on most.
Yeah, so I can go and make a post. This is going to be a real post, though. What should I say?
Test it.
I'm going to say good morning. Good morning.
103.
Nostr devs. Number 8, where I am showing off Nostr cross-posting. So now I have options under here, and I have a checkbox I can check to cross-post to Nostr. So now I can opt into this.
Will that show up if you disabled it on settings?
This will show up no matter what, currently. And so I can post, yeah, this is my browser, the extension. So I'll post this. And this is a long form content, so a parameterized replaceable event. And so whenever there's failures, also we're posting to multiple relays, but if there's a failure, we'll show you a toast here, and you can actually retry. So I'll retry this one more time. But it got posted to the other relays. That's fine. It's not accepting it, so I'll skip. Boom. So it was made, and now, so I posted this as actually a fake account that I used, whose name is Alice, doxed. Let's see if this showed up on obla.news. Good morning. Here it is, right here at the top. We see Alice posted good morning. Good morning from Nostr Devs number 8, where I'm showing off Nostr cross-posting. So works immediately. That was cool. At least went out to a few relays, and Obla picked it up. And so, yeah, that is the main feature. I can also go into my settings here, and I have another checkbox under Nostr to always cross-post to Nostr. These are the default relays we're using right now, as well as your NIPO 5 relays if you have those set. So I can always cross-post to Nostr, or I can just do it on a per-post basis at the bottom right here.
So it's good for like discussion stuff?
It's good for discussions, or if you're writing your blog post, you know, like if you're gonna post it to Obla News anyway, and you're gonna post it to Stacker News anyway, well, now you can do both. You're gonna get zapped for both. You do it in one fell swoop, and that's really cool. So, you know, this is just the MVP kind of release. Gonna be making more improvements to it, definitely in the future. So give me feedback if you try it. And I think that is all of the stories I had lined up so far today. Anything you want to talk about? Any panel you want to run?
I was thinking we could have a little more discussion about Boost, less from the technical angle, but more just from the social side of it. What kind of feedback is it getting? Some people seem to be really annoyed by it. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a lot of annoyance of and confusion. I think we could have explained it better when launching, but in the background, we're getting a lot of people that are interested in implementing it in their products in certain ways. There's a lot of applications of prisms that could be important because it's basically like logic for determining a split of potential SAT recipients. So how applicable is that? You know, you can use it for a lot of different things, and we're just doing the most very early experiment with it, which is essentially like boosting engagement.
Where do you think it's going to fit in with the picture of advertising and things like Zapvertising that already exist on Nostr?
I mean, I think it'll improve it. I hope it'll improve it because it's basically a way of you're saying like, I'm going to create this prism for you, and then when you zap that prism, that is seen publicly because our bot responds to it. So people can see, like Bob's original prism, you can see that he zapped it like 100,000 sats. So if you were the first person to see that and be like, huh, this is an interesting idea, I'm going to be one of the first reposters, then you got included in that split. You got a few thousand sats. That's pretty nice. And then Bob got the engagement he wanted on his post. And you know, pretty soon we'll be able to add logic. Well, basically to extend that, there's some things I can't talk about.
I think it's pretty cool. Just in my experience using it, it seems like a good way both to pay for a little bit of engagement, but also to both find, like to discover, and also promote things you like. So if I see something that's good, I'll go ahead and boost it. And I'll also discover new stuff that way. And people will discover it in general because it gets boosted, or you can be a total nerd like me and actually follow the, what's the account called? Is it the Boost profile?
It's a Prism Post.
A Prism Post, yeah. So I follow that, and that way I'll just randomly see something that I never would have seen otherwise. And sometimes it's garbage. Sometimes somebody will just post Boost by itself. Well, now I know who to mute. So I think it's a win-win.
Yeah. Yeah, and there will be more criteria in the future. Like right now we have a comment where like you're putting the commenters into a split, but you could make it to where the most upvoted commenters, the most zapped commenters get a higher weight in the split or something like that. So you could imagine just having like Stacker News does, like a weekly meme thread, right? And a prism is going to be created from that meme thread after the fact. So whoever gets zapped the most or liked or interacted with, reposted, whatever you want it to be, you know, that could be the criteria for your prism. So you can get really custom with it in theory.
So I have a question though. If it gets like really customized, could there be a situation where people don't know if they're eligible to be in that prism post, but they end up boosting anyway, where it's kind of like, well, you're kind of tricking them? Like, let's say it was limited to only people on a particular list, and people didn't realize that, and they all jump in and boost it, but they have no chance of actually getting any sats.
Yeah, I mean, this is where we wanted to have that lister tag that you can
because
use.
then it's public, right? You can
yeah, because then it's public. But even then still, there's a lot of confusion. There's like a lot of UX barriers that we're working around. Like, we thought like, yeah, this is pretty simple. Everyone will understand this. And then it's like, no, actually it's really freaking confusing because there's, you know, a back and forth between two different accounts when this happens in a 12-hour period. And it's a lot to explain up front. But of course, you know, we're very early.
How do you think this would scale? I mean, I was just imagining today, like, what if Nostr had 1 million users, or what if it had 1 billion users? Like, let's think really big. I would imagine that different communities and different relays would probably run like their own instance of this. How do you think it would scale?
Yeah, I mean, I think there would be a side where like relays would offer this, maybe as a service, maybe it could be driven down to being for free. But I think that also clients could do a lot. Like you could build a client that does some like janky black magic today that makes it to where we wouldn't need to create another note for the zap split, right? So there's a lot more work that the client could do to allow these experiences, but it's a huge trade-off. It's really clunky right now. So the question is like, what is the clean way of doing this? And you kind of need to get feedback to figure that out.
The interesting thing is y'all came over the top of everything. I think I don't know if anybody else has done that, like as far as like a project coming off the ground. Because you guys are running a server that's monitoring everything, as opposed to just building another client that has boosts in there or prisms in there. I thought that was really fascinating.
I thought it was cool too how this project totally dominated the like the 24-hour Nostr news cycle.
Yeah, it was a distracting day. A lot of zaps coming through and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, everyone's building clients on Nostr, which is cool, and we love and need clients, but you can build logic apps, right, that are invisible and only, you know, interact in a few certain ways, maybe through accounts or something like that. And you got this world of data that's just living out there that can be combined, configured in a certain way to allow some functionality or some cool, you know, trick, and that's exciting.
I think, yeah, I can't wait to see what else comes out, because I would imagine these are more like features. I remember the early days of Twitter, like people were using hashtags and all this sorts of things, and this was before anybody knew what they were, like what a hashtag was, and then it just naturally just became the thing that it is. So this is kind of maybe that same evolution. It's like people will just have to like understand it just through paying attention to Nostr. Awesome.
Yeah, that's a really good comment, actually. Carr said that this reminds him of like the early days of hashtags on Twitter, and hashtags weren't actually a feature that Twitter built. It was something that organically the users started doing to basically kind of like tag their content, and then Twitter started to support it. And I think that's something that happens in Nostr a lot. Like someone just starts doing it, and then the whole network realizes like, oh, this is cool, let's implement this. Let's find a way to like come up with a spec and standardize and implement this. So yeah, I mean, I could very well see that happening with prisms. And you know, like I said before, like anyone could kind of do this just like we are now. It's not black magic. There's just a lot of edge cases, and you kind of got to build it up slowly over time. But yeah, zap splits are in Amethyst as well. They're in what else? Snort.social. You can now pay zap splits and create zap splits. So that's cool.
So Prisms got a lot of activity, a lot of attention, like the first day, really the first week. But I think there's a natural cycle with these things where you know, the new thing gets all the attention for a while and then it seems to fizzle out. But what would success look like in the future? Because I think this could fit into a category similar to Zapvertising, where you don't see it much. I mean, I rarely see it, but whenever you do see it, it's effective, you know what it is. And I think with this, there seem to be some challenges around people knowing what it is or how to use it. But despite all the complexity, I think if people just get the simple concept that if you see boost and boost it, you'll get paid, I think it can work very similar to Zapvertising.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I honestly have no predictions or I have no expectations on what will happen in the future. I don't have like a super strong vision on it. It's just like someone will do it. It makes sense that if you're having a value for value network, that you want to be able to have criteria for, you know, better allocating where those payments go. Another interesting thing I heard is that only like the top 5% of Nostr accounts have ever been zapped. So most people have never been zapped, and it's kind of like, you know, these big Nostr influencers are getting zapped, tens of thousands of sats on every post, and then you're just a pleb and you haven't even gotten one sat zap. So it feels bad, and so this is, you know, a way you can kind of spread the love and get more people like in on that experience.
Yeah, it's a good point, Austin. Maybe this is a way where the plebs can finally take back Nostr. I feel like it's just been co-opted by influencers now. So.
Yeah.
I really like the comment you just made, Carr, about the plebs taking back Nostr because the influencers seem to have so much clout on there. I'm totally with that because, like, I personally, I just mute all the biggest influencer accounts. So whenever I do go onto Primal and I see it, it's just, it doesn't even feel like Nostr to me when I see the trending lists.
The biggest problem with it right now is like you go to Primal and it's just like what these influencers are up to, and it just basically becomes a thing just for that. And for me, that's just so annoying. It's just like,
Yeah.
I know what they eat for lunch, I know what they eat for breakfast, I know like, but I want to see everybody else because that's what I miss. That's what I miss about Twitter, being able to see the discovery stuff.
Yeah, so as Carr was saying, in Primal, you see a lot, you see too much content from major influencers, and unfortunately now it doesn't seem to have an easy way to turn that off. I think they'll probably add more customizability in the future because, like, they have some pretty fine-tuned or customizable feeds that you can choose from. You can choose to see trending notes or popular notes within a subset of the network. Like it could be your followers, it could be your follows, or your network. People, follows of follows, I think. So in the future, I would like to see features where you could go into those feeds, but exclude the big influencers. Because, I mean, algorithms are
you can
nice
do it with the
sometimes.
lists.
Yeah.
You can make a talking heads lister and and mute all of those accounts on your client.
That's essentially what my main mute list is. It's about 20 profiles. It's the biggest talking heads, and it's just, to me, it's redundant. I don't really need to hear it. And if occasionally something will kind of slip through the filter because I'm using different clients, or if somebody reposts and I'm using Amethyst, I'll have the ability to see the hidden post. So yeah, I think that's a good way to move going forward.
Is Amethyst also the one that lets you see from the perspective of another account?
It's one of the clients. I mean,
So
a lot of them.
You can like go to Jack's account and be like, see Jack's feed, and you can see exactly what Jack Dorsey's feed looks like. And maybe you're like, oh, I'm tired of my feed. Let me see what someone else's feed looks like, and you might find a few new follows. I think that's a really novel discovery method that like I've never seen it on like Twitter or anything.
Yeah, it's a really cool thing about Nostr, and it can also be a little scary because you realize just how public it is. And I don't think Nostr is really built for privacy, but I think that's a good segue into another topic, which is there are a few developers working on trying to build a private Nostr experience that can involve even like a peer-to-peer networking side, which is really ambitious, but I don't know. It seems kind of questionable to me. So
Amethyst?
It's Amethyst, yeah. So I'll tell you here that the two main projects that are going in this direction. One is Amethyst, where Vitor he probably has the most ambitious vision for doing this kind of private and peer-to-peer Nostr implementation. The other one is Coracle from Hodlbod, and I think he's been interested really from the beginning of how Nostr could be used to create experiences for more private communities. And I think in his vision it would be probably based around relays. Maybe you'd have community relays, whereas with Amethyst, it seems like they're trying to build an actual peer-to-peer networking where it wouldn't even use relays. It could use relays as a fallback, but it seems really exciting from the technical side. But there's also a lot of skepticism where people are saying things like, oh, this has been tried so many times, it's not going to work. Maybe it'll work on Nostr. I don't even know if it's really something that I would want to use. I like to use Nostr mostly just to put everything out there in the public and get as much engagement as possible. So I'm not really sure where a private, like peer-to-peer Nostr experience would fit in. Any comments, Austin?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just trying to find the release. I remembered that they had a release recently with private DMs and group chats, but this seems to be like the traditional group chat model. They only use a different encryption algorithm called XChaCha, which is a really funny name. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, the more experiments, the better. But no, as an individual, you don't want to trust any of these experiments.
On the networking side that I mentioned a little bit, so a little bit more detail on that. The plan is to get around the problem of NAT traversal by using IPv6. And this is a little bit over my head, but essentially it would use UDP messages instead of TCP, and it would rely on a stun server. This was my first time even hearing about a stun server, so I don't know what that is, but even if it doesn't fly, it seems really cool, at least from the technical angle.
Is that a recent note? I'm just trying to pull it up.
This was a note from September 26.
Oh, that's not that recent.
Yeah, so, and it's part of a bigger effort, I think, to try to make, I guess it would be maybe an option in Amethyst where you could turn on like peer-to-peer mode, and
Is Coracle just on the web?
Coracle is only a web client. Yeah.
It's pretty nice. I actually like to use Coracle without logging in, just for like searching for stuff and like viewing. Because I actually corrupted my Coracle locally when I was trying to like log out and it was deleting my DB. That was on my other browser though, so I just don't log in now.
One thing I want to plug about Coracle is if you're interested in using relay or building communities that are kind of relay based, which I think is probably going to happen just in the course of scaling Nostr, where if Nostr is really big, your selection of relays is going to matter a lot, where right now it doesn't matter much because you can just choose a few really popular relays and see all the content. But Coracle is the only client I know of that gives you a really good relay-specific feed. Because normally, if you were to just turn on a single relay with other clients and you're trying to see a thread, you're pulling from just one relay, you're going to miss out on part of that conversation. But what's really cool that Coracle does is if you're trying to just follow notes on a particular relay, it will pull those in, but it will also show you the rest of the conversation in the thread. It'll pull in the entire thread from other relays. So I think it makes it really effective it's like an early step. It's like an early step in making more relay-specific interactions on Nostr.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like, as you say that, I immediately am able to imagine how they're doing it. But then it's just like, it's so hard as a client. There's so much extra work and logic you need to add in just for all of these tiny little niche scenarios. Like, oh, I'm looking at a thread and maybe I'm attached to these relays and I'm missing messages. The Nostr client has to be like, oh, well, I can find every note from a bigger list of relays that is replying to that parent note.
I would imagine, though, that the way it's implemented in Coracle, it probably just leverages what he's already doing for the gossip model, right?
Okay.
Coracle is one of the few clients that from early on was implementing the gossip, or now I think it's called the outbox model. So it already knows how to look for relays that are not in your user selection. And it does this based on things like relay hints, but also by looking at the relay selections of people that you're interacting with. So I think he kind of gets some of that for free.
Is he just bootstrapping himself, that dude, still?
As far as I know, Hodlbod's the only main developer on Coracle. With these open source projects, it's common to have contributions, like one-off contributions, but he's definitely the main developer on it. I want to see if we have any audience questions, because it would be a good chance to demonstrate boosts. If we get any good questions, I can boost them. And I'm offering 25,000 sats for the best question. So any question. If okay, let's see what we got.
What's the meaning of life?
How much rich would a nostrich nost if a nostrich could nost rich? Wow. This is a heavy one. This is a heavy one. I'm going to have to ponder on that one. And then we have from Cloud Fodder. Boost is awesome. I wonder if it works for iPhone because it's NWC only, right? Is there a site? So I think we saw the answer to that earlier, right?
Yeah, this is where it's confusing. So Boost is just you basically like announcing, and we'll hear it almost no matter what relays you're on. You're announcing, I want a prism to be created on this post after the fact. And that will either be in a 12-hour period or after 10 reposts. So you're not paying anything yet, right? You're just creating the note that will be able to be zapped and then split to all of the reposters. And then after the fact, once that note is created, then you should go to zapper.nostrapps.org, and this is like the best place, the best experience for you to, let's see if I still, zap multiple people at the same time. So that's kind of the final step. The initial just $boost, you're just setting aside the prism to be made. And then once the prism's made, that's when you can zap it. So, yeah.
And you can totally be that guy who just posts $boost and never zaps. You're still going to get some engagement, but you'll probably get a reputation. So I try to be generous with zapping the prism post. Basically, what the booster software does is it gives you, for your own convenience, it tells you, hey, these are here's the prism post. These are the people who met your criteria, whether it was boosting your original note or commenting, which I just learned today that commenting was a thing. I didn't know about the comment tag. But anyway, it tells you how many sats that original post was zapped, and that's for your own convenience. So now if you want to just repay what was put in, you can zap that amount and it'll get split to the prism recipients. But you can go above and beyond. Like, you can be generous with it, or not at all. You could be like, you could just ignore it.
I'm just showing you again how slow this experience is right now. Turbo zaps coming soon to you.
Yeah, I was talking to Ben. He was saying that once they did the whole gifts thing, reviewed the user adoption increased. I would imagine the same thing will happen, right? Like with prisms, just like more people will hear about it and jump on, like it more.
Yeah.
Nostr users.
Yeah, Carr mentioned that the Mutiny gifts recently increased their user engagement a lot, and yeah, I mean, it's one of those novel things that you have a new experience, it involves something valuable, and you're sharing it with friends. I think Prisms kind of fits into that category. So, I mean, you just got to keep finding use cases that people want to use for a functional purpose, or just they think it's fun, I guess. But yeah, did you want to, oh wait, are you still looking for the question?
I think that covers all the questions we've had so far. I guess there's no YouTube stream this time, right, Carr?
Correct.
Okay.
Yep, Nostr exclusive.
All right, so
Okay, anything else?
There's a new client, Nostr Cooking. Maybe we could go over that real quick.
Nostr, what is it?
It's nostr.cooking.
Oh, that's a
How do you
good,
find these?
that's a good TLD, man.
How do you find all this?
I'm on Nostr a lot. Carr was asking how I find all the new stuff.
Every month you come in with something like the most
And
interesting.
Super finds them too. Like, he'll find stuff I never even heard about.
Okay, wow.
What do we got here?
That's cool.
Some recipes, some well-tagged recipes. Polish. 1.6K sats zapped. Nice. It looks like, oh no, they're not making their feed with zaps.
So how does this work? Is it just finding notes at oh wow.
So it's just like a long form note that's formatted and curated just specifically for recipes.
This might be the most amazing link
It's
you've
pretty
ever
cool.
shared.
Yeah, it's cool too because this is actually really easy to implement. Like under the surface, they're just using some special tag to filter. Oh, they got drinks on here? Moscow Mule. I need to put my signature coffee pancakes on here.
I would imagine this has a feature to fork a recipe. I haven't looked at it much. but
Oh, yeah, yeah.
the things you want to do. Oh, there it is. I see it right on top.
Zap fork. See, this is cool too. They have like a strict format that they make you do. I mean, technically, this is probably just a NIP 23 long form event, I think. But they're making you put in these certain fields, and so they're kind of forcing this format. That's actually a really cool idea.
Yeah, that's cool. So how do
Wow.
can you just post directly on there? Is that?
Getting down to the memes. Okay, cool. Nostr.cooking. Anything else you wanted to show?
I decided to answer the question about how much rich would a Nostrich Gnost. I would say 21 million.
21 million. All right.
What do you think?
Good answer. I'd say 12. Yeah, that feels right. Okay, well, I think that is about the end of where we're at for this Nostr Devs. I'm out of things. I'm out of stories.
Oh, can you show the Halloween hackathon thing? It's on Vita.
Yes, if you are in Austin, am I in the right browser?
Also,
We're
can
gonna
you
have-
show us, you mentioned at the beginning a way to, I think it was a way to post from your note-taking app that you were going to show us at the end.
Posts from your note. No, that was Nostr cross-posting.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I was just going to post this to Nostr through Stacker News, but then I forgot to do it because I posted that other note.
Okay.
And yeah, oops. But I'll still post that on Nostr for you all to see.
January posted it up there, but yeah, Halloween hacking.
So if you're in Austin on Halloween, I guess, or whatever, 27th, we're having a Halloween hack and house party. Are we hacking?
It's like best costume wins 500,000 sats, like we did last year, and then best hack. But it'll just be like,
Oh, wow.
just like one day, like. I want
Okay,
you
I'm
guys
gonna have to think of a spooky project.
Yeah, just like a spooky
to make.
project, and then like one day hack, and then wins 1 million sats.
Yeah,
And I'm sure it'll just be like, something small, but.
yeah. And now all your sats are gone. Woo! That's what my project's gonna be.
But yeah, we'll have the best costume, and then best hack, and then we'll have beer, drinks, and food, and karaoke, and all this cool stuff.
Okay, cool. Well, thank you for watching and attending. That was Nostr Devs. Woo!